Hi everybody, welcome back to the Bolt Hole Biker. If you saw my last video, then you'll know that I have had a bit of a Multistrada itch that I've been wanting to scratch for a few years now, and I decided recently to give that itch a little bit of a scratch. So I've set up some test rides on a couple of Multistradas, the 950S and the V4S, and on a couple of other bikes that I feel are sort of rivals to the Multistrada, if you like, or bikes that are in a similar category, or ones that I feel like I should at least ride alongside the Multistrada to compare them and see if the Multistrada is what I really want. So these test rides are all about how the bikes ride. They're not tech reviews of, you know, the specifications of the bikes. I'm not going to go in depth about engine capacities and horsepower and what suspension they've got, what brakes they've got, etc. These are just test rides for me to give my honest opinion on what I think about these bikes to ride and how they compare to the Duke and whether they are potential bikes that I would like to own potentially instead of the Duke. So if that's something that interests you, then stay tuned in and we'll get on with the first test ride. I'm doing these in 4 separate videos. I've recorded all of them and they're all edited. I'm going to release them over the course of 4 days. There were meant to be 5, but I have not been able to get a test ride on the KTM Superduke GT as yet. If I do get one, then I'll still do the test ride. But the first one is just about to come up. It is the BMW S1000XR. So here it comes. I hope you enjoy it.
So this is the BMW S1000XR. I've been on it now for about 20 minutes. So I have done a bit of town riding on this bike, and I have to say it was very well mannered. I find the engine, this inline 4 engine, very revvy. You need to really wind it up to get anything out of it. Don't get me wrong, when you wind it up it really shifts and it's incredibly smooth, to the point where, if I'm perfectly honest with you, for me, being used to parallel twin engines which are quite visceral, I find it, I don't want to do an injustice to the bike because it really is fast, but I find it less entertaining, let's put it that way. It's just really quick, but you don't necessarily feel like you're going quick, and it's not got the it doesn't have the poke. Certainly down low you really have to wind it on, which for town riding means that it is incredibly well behaved, because you can ride it at, I mean, I'm at about 2000 RPM now. It's as smooth as anything and no problem whatsoever. I'm in second gear. I think I could be in probably any gear, but I am going to be honest, the character of the engine is not one that suits my preference. Nothing wrong with it, but it's just not for me. I mean, you don't really get anything from it until you wind it right on, until you get up to about 6000 RPM, at which point it sounds like you're revving it too hard, in my opinion. I want the power down at the wheels to match the sound that's coming out the back of the bike, basically. It sounds like you should be going about 1000 miles an hour when you're in first gear doing 10 miles an hour. Yeah, listen, I'm in first gear now. Second gear. Just sounds like, you know, I'm going gently through the town at 25 miles an hour. Why is it revving so much? The seat is like a bucket seat, which is slightly strange. When I first got on it, I didn't think it was going to be particularly comfortable at all, because it's almost shaped like a bum, basically. It reminds me a little bit of the old bicycle seats that you used to get that were sort of, you know, shaped to fit a bum. See, this sort of bucket seat, it's got ridges up here, so you sit right inside it, it cups your bum. I've found myself being slid down the seat, so I'm ending up sitting here, and when I push my bum back up, it wants to sort of slide me down again, which it's comfortable enough now, but I don't think that's going to be all day long comfortable, to be perfectly honest with you. Not convinced by the seat. See, I want that power more instant. So fast overtakes are, in my opinion, much easier on my Duke, for instance. You wind it on and bang, you're gone. Whereas with this, you wind it on and it kind of feels like you are having to wind it a bit before it does anything. The switch gear is lovely. When you click the indicator on, it really clicks, and then when you click it off, click. Lovely. It's very flickable. It's quite top heavy bike, but very, very flickable. See, I'm winding it on now. I'm in 6th gear, and now it's absolutely flying. But I'm only at 6,000 RPM, and it doesn't redline until about 11,000. So to really get the power out of it, you have to properly. Here we go. That is fast. I won't go any faster than that because I want to hang on to my license for a little while longer. But it's a quick bike. It's got loads of power, but you do have to ask it to give you the power. Down at the low end, for me, it's a bit lackluster, and that power isn't thrilling. It's just there. The quick shifter's great. Yeah, the quick shifter's super smooth. It's actually smoother than the one on my Duke. If I put my head down, I am completely in a bubble. So I think the screen's pretty good. I've got wind of my arms, but that's, you know, that's not a bad thing, especially on a day like today where it's a bit warmer. My chest is clear. It's only the top of my helmet that's getting the wind onto it. Brakes are really good, actually. These are BMW brakes, and they are excellent brakes. There's a lot of initial bite and a lot of progression. Very comfy, lent over around this roundabout. A bit of a decent lean on there. Quite nimble. It is quite nimble. I hope I get onto some twisties. I am on tiptoe on both sides, like literally tiptoe. Not even the front ball part of my foot, just literally tiptoes on either side. I've got fairly short legs. I think I've got a 30 inseam. So I am used to being on tiptoe, and I'm quite used to just hanging half my bum off and getting a flat foot. So not a big issue, but it is quite tall for me. And being a top heavy bike, maybe that if you stopped and you were off balance, maybe that would be an issue. As I say, I'm fairly used to having to be tiptoed on bikes, so I don't see as it's a big problem. So these reviews that I'm doing, they're about, I'm not doing like a tech spec review or anything like that. There's plenty of information about all of these bikes online. This is about how the bikes feel, how they ride, and whether they suit me, with a view to possibly changing from my Duke. And although this is a nice bike and a fast bike, it hasn't got the fun factor that I've got with my Duke. I think my basic conclusion on the ride of this bike is that it rides very much like a sports bike, which effectively is what it is, so that's no bad thing. It's a very powerful engine, it's a very fast bike, but it's all about the top end. There isn't really, in my opinion, much of a thrilling ride down at the lower end, which in all fairness is where you spend a lot of your time riding on the roads. So for me, this is going to be a no. I have more fun riding my Duke. I like the upright seating position, I love the screen, it's working really well. The switch gear's great, the quality of the bike's great, I like the keyless ride. I am a bit tiptoey. The quick shifter's fantastic, and the blipper, really nice. It's the nicest one I've used actually. The mirrors are good. I've not noticed any of the buzziness that people mention. A lot of people say it's very vibey. I mean, the most vibes I'm getting from it are now actually, whilst I'm idling. I can get a bit of vibration off of the grips, but nothing. I mean, I certainly haven't been riding along thinking that it's vibey. Screen's lovely. I've not been through all the menus. I know it's all there, and I know that the BMW screens are renowned for being fantastic. It's all set up for navigation, which would be great. It's a very nice bike. Very nice bike. Got a little cubby hole here. Wouldn't fit my phone in there, but you'd get a bit of, I don't know, pack of chewing gum and some loose change in there. Oh, here we go. If it wasn't for the character of the engine, then this would be a potential swap up, because there's a lot to like on this bike. There really is, and I know that it's all set up for luggage, etc. Just the character of the inline-4 engine that's not for me, and that's a problem with me, not the bike. It's just that's not the kind of ride that I'm after, because I don't need to be at the top end all the time. And we're talking about the top end of a bike that's got, I mean, what is this, about 165 horsepower, something like that. So when you're at the top end, you are absolutely flying. I mean, I think I've only got it up to about 8,000 RPM. I've not gone right to the top end because, well, partly because of the roads that I've been on. Everything that's on the bike seems to work exactly as it should. It's comfortable, it's efficient. I've not had a chance to use this whiz wheel thing, but again, that's not the purpose of this ride. I'm sure all the equipment works well, and it's got all the equipment that I would ever need, so that's not the purpose of this. Well, I'm nearly back at the dealership now, so on to the GS. Let's see what I think of that.
Well, I hope that gave you some idea of what, in my opinion, the XR is like to ride. I think it's pretty clear that it's not for me. I find the ride a bit flat. Very fast, but a bit flat, and dare I say, slightly boring. At the lower end. At the top end, still a bit flat, but very fast. But it's not for me. Anyway, the next test ride is in the next video, which will be coming out tomorrow, and it is for the R1250 GS, the all-conquering GS. So tune in for that test ride and see what I think of the GS. In the meantime, thanks for watching this video. I shall see you in the next one. Bye!